Hello to everyone. Today, on a rather cold, frosty, and snowy day, I start my gardening season. I know it may sound a bit ridiculous because I didn't manage to have a really good quality rest from my gardening when I finished off my season in autumn, but I still feel like the remaining winter months are also really good months to start growing something because especially during rather gloomy and grey days, you can get back to that feeling when you touch the soil and you get energy from everything. That's why I'm going to speak about some plants that are highly recommended to sow in January and some plants that I usually sow. Though for our part of the world, many people sow plants at the end of February and during March. The second half of April is the most active part, when you open the frozen doors of the polar tunnel and literally start planting everything into the open. January is the perfect month for such plants and flowers that are so slow in their growth. I made a mistake a couple of years ago when I planted everything during one period, and I could see that some plants were so stubborn it was hard for them to germinate and they couldn't grow roots as fast as some other vegetable plants. Also during January, I always sow those plants that have a really low germination rate. Sometimes really exotic plants are the ones that everyone desires, but they can be really hard to germinate. So I always start my experiments in January as well. Regarding flowers, quite often in January, we sow some biennial and perennial plants. In the video about the seeds that I bought for this year, I shared some of the new varieties of flowers that I want to have in my garden. We don't have really huge flower beds, but I want our garden to be decorated with different vibrant colors. That meant that I needed to include new varieties into my sowing calendar. Biennial plants are somehow quite sneaky because they bloom during their second year. So if you want to trick them and get flowers during the first year, you have to plant biennial plants during January. I don't have many of them. I have perennial flowers. Spicy herbs are also the ones that I plant during January. In my case, that includes basil of different varieties. I added basil to the list of the spices that I use only 1 year ago, because by the time you need to plant it into the open, it will be a strong plant. Also during this period, I plant some herbs for tea blends. I make my own tea blends. A couple of years ago, I planted lemon balm, but I started doing it in autumn. And by the time I had planted into the open, lemon balm was superb. And during the first year, I got fresh, juicy, aromatic leaves of lemon balm that I used for tea during the whole period of summer until I dried them. This year I also include different varieties of mint into my tea blend. Another herb that I planted for tea is catnip. That is my first try. I've never tried it before, but my godmother said that it is better than lemon balm, so I need to check it. During this season, I expect to have really good, small, but tough bushes of these herbs, so that to prepare a small sack of dried leaves for the next winter. Apart from that, I sow root plants that I always use for my blend of herbs and spices. These are celeriac and leek. They are so stubborn in their growth. And the previous year, I realized that you need to plant them really beforehand, even during December. But I wanted to prolong my holidays. That's why I decided to plant them during this first period of sowing in January. I keep all the pots on my eastern window ledge that receives generous amount of sunrise in the morning. In reality, I always lack space in my home when this time of the year comes. But for me, the more the merrier. When the days are still so short, I make sure to use phyto lamps after I see the first sprouts. The table on which I've put the pots close to the radiator, allowing to have the optimum temperature for growth. 1 year ago, I discovered warming mats that you can buy for your plants. There is a lot of proof regarding their effectiveness. Right now, you can see it in the amount of condensation on the plastic wrap. At the moment, I have only one warming mat, and I can put 3 pots of this size on it. And I am planning to buy more of them. I know that it is not a lot, But obviously, I have this feeling of slowly and gradually getting back into this period and gardening atmosphere. Haven't planted everything. I'm waiting for the next months because it will be one of the most active months as well. And I will definitely show everything that I will plant in February. I hope that you are having a good time. And I'm more than curious of what you are doing during the month of January. And do you sow anything right now? Until next time, take care. Bye bye.